should you stay married to a narcissist even though you know you're being psychologically and verbally abused? Wow. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So let me just start with this. The definition of narcissism. Let me pull it up here. Somehow it didn't make it onto my notes.
Okay.
I was reading a little bit about narcissism from the Mayo Clinic. They say this: narcissistic personality disorder, one of several types of personality disorders, is a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence lies a fragile self-esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. The cause is unknown, but likely involves a combination of genetic and environmental factors. So here's what our world is doing. Our world is trying to describe, and trying to be gentle and sensitive with this answer. But the world, the medical world, is trying to describe what ultimately I believe. Now, obviously, there could certainly be some mental illness at play here. There certainly could be some personality disorders at play here. But I believe the root of this problem is sin.
Yeah.
It's a pride issue. Now, I'm not saying that mental illness isn't real. I'm not saying that this could not be a diagnosable personality disorder. What I am saying is I believe the root of that, they said that the cause is unknown. I know the cause. We're all born with this in a way.
Right.
In a way, we're all born with an inflated sense of our own importance, to take the Mayo Clinic's words.
Sure.
A deep need for excessive attention and admiration. We're born with that. And for the rest of our lives, we have to learn that the world is not about us.
Yeah.
So I want to be sensitive with this. But let me get to the question now, because the question is, should you stay married to a narcissist? And then the underlying question is, what about psychological or verbal abuse? So this is a huge deal.
Right.
Let me answer it as quickly as I can. First of all, selfishness and sin, even a personality disorder, is not a reason for divorce per se. Okay. Now there are lots of things that could play into this, but by themselves, those are not reasons for divorce. I mean, think about just like from the standpoint of one of the traditional parts of a marriage vow is in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get married and say I do when someone is in their right mind. What happens when they're not?
Yeah.
The Bible does not give mental illness as an out in marriage. So as challenging as that may be to hear, that's if we're answering this from the Bible, that's the way that this works.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to abuse, we're talking about a whole new thing.
Right.
So if this is just a person who has an inflated ego and an excessive need for attention, that's one thing. That's challenging by itself. But now if there's a level of abuse, psychological, verbal, or even worse, physical, now we're talking about something totally different, okay? So let me kind of answer that real quickly. Forgiveness and grace. Let me talk about this. Forgiveness and grace does not mean that we let people abuse us and walk all over us. It does not mean that you cower in a corner while abuse takes place. It does not mean that you shield them from the police being involved.
Right.
It doesn't mean like that. So I want to clarify that. When there's abuse, and especially when you feel unsafe, involve law enforcement.
Yes.
If there's something illegal happening, if you feel threatened, involve law enforcement.
Yes.
If you feel like you're unsafe, call a friend, leave the house, do what you have to do to protect yourself. Okay, we're not at all saying forgive, turn the other cheek, let them abuse you. That's not at all what we're saying. Okay, but I do just want to say this: you can stay married while taking some time to be separate and seek help.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, we've had friends who have gone through this in varying stages, some very extreme, some less. And don't just immediately go, I need to divorce them.
Yeah.
Seek some help. And anytime it comes to the question of should I divorce them, we answered a divorce question a couple weeks ago. The answer to that question, we're not going to just answer on a live Q&A because there are so many contributing factors to that. And so what we would say is that something like that comes with a lot of prayer and time to consider and godly counsel. And the Bible, what the Bible would say is that God hates divorce, and it's only allowable in a few cases. And godly reconciliation is the goal, not divorce. So to me, now again, I'm not saying that this person does not have a mental illness, but I do believe this person needs a lot of prayer, even if that's from the standpoint of mental and physical healing. But I think of 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, that we talked about this before, but that references a spouse that's married to an unbelieving spouse. And the fact that your prayer and your love for them, your actions and kindness toward them will speak a louder, more impactful sermon than your nagging or incessant, writing them for change.
Yeah.
The greatest impact you can have on them is from your love and your prayer for them. So I hope that's helpful. That's a really hard question. And, just like it has for many times with some of the questions that we answered, our hearts hurt for you if you're in that situation. So please, if you need to protect yourself, do that. If you need to reach out, do that. Forgiveness does not mean we just let people treat us however we want.
Right.